Hey Zheads, welcome back for another video. Hopefully you enjoyed our introduction to Vettius Valens. In our last video we talked about the planets, specifically the nature of them and what they brought. In this video we will be branching out into the 12 signs of the zodiac. So get comfortable, turn on, tune in and drop out. The nature of the 12 zodiacal signs. Aries. Aries is the house of Mars, a masculine sign, tropic, terrestrial, governing, fiery, free, upward trending, semi-vocal and noble, changeable, procuratorial, public, civic, with few offspring. Servile, the mid-heaven of the universe and the cause of rank. Two-toned, since the sun and the moon make white lichen. It is also unaspected and ecliptic. Depending on its relationship with the house ruler, men born under this sign will be brilliant, distinguished, authoritarian, just, hard on offenders, free, governing, bold in thought, boastful, great-hearted, restless, unstable, haughty and inflated, intimidating, quickly changing and wealthy. When the house rulers are favourably situated and have benefics in aspect, kings and powerful men are born, those having the say over life and death. Aries is by nature watery, with thunder and hail. From its first degree to the equinox, it is stormy, full of hail, windy and destructive. The middle degrees, up to 15, are mild and fruitful. The following degrees are hot and cause plagues of animals. This sign has 19 bright stars. On the belt are 14 bright stars, 27 dim, 28 somewhat bright, and 48 faint. The constellations that rise at the same time as Aries are in the north, the first part of Perseus, and the rear and the left parts of Auriga, and in the south, the fin and tail of Cetus. When Aries is rising, the feet of Bootes in the north and the hind parts of Lupus in the south are setting. The following zones are subject to Aries. To the front parts, Babylon. To the head, Elymais. To the right side, Perseus. To the left, Palestine and the neighbouring areas. To the turn of its head, Babylonia. To its breast, Armenia. To its shoulders, Thrace. To its belly, Cappadocia, Susa, the Red Sea and the Dead Sea. To its hind parts, Egypt and the Indian Ocean. Taurus. Taurus is feminine, solid, lying in the sun's spring tropic, full of bones with some limbs missing, rising backwards, setting straight down. This sign lies for the most part in the invisible sky. It is calm from its first degree to 6 degrees, the section of the Pleiades. It is worthless, even destructive, disease-producing, thundering, causing earthquakes and lightning flashes. The next 2 degrees are fiery and smoky. The right part, towards Auriga, is temperate and cool. The left parts are worthless and changeable, sometimes chilling, at other times heating. The head, to 23 degrees, is in a temperate atmosphere, but it causes disease and death for living things. The rest is destructive, worthless, disease-ridden. It has 27 stars. The constellations that rise with it are in the north, the rear of Auriga, and in the south, the rear of Cetus, and the first section of Eridanus. Venus, the moon, Ceres, Vesta, Mars, and Mercury, the constellations that set when Taurus is rising, are in the north Bootes up to the belt and the leg of Ophiuchus. In the south, Orion rises with Taurus. He is belted around the waist, extends his sword in his right hand, and holds his left hand, the so-called caduceus. This sign is productive of order, earthy, rustic, related to farming, a freedman, downward trending, with few offspring. Semi-vocal and mute, noble, invariable, energetic, unfinished, and indicative of estates and possessions. The ecliptic lies to the north, rising in line with its highest point. Men born under this sign are noble, energetic, toilsome, good at keeping things, pleasure-loving, music-loving, and generous. Some are labourers, propagators, and planters. If benefics incline toward this place, or if the house ruler is favourably situated, men become priests and school superintendents, as well as those judged worthy of crowns and of the purple, of monument and statues. Also supervisors of temples and distinguished and brilliant individuals. The following zones are subject to Taurus. To its head, Medea and adjoining areas. To its breast, Babylon. To the right side toward Auriga, Scythia. To the Pleiades, Cyprus to the left side, Arabia and the surrounding areas. To its shoulders, Persis and the Caucasus Mountains. To its truncated portion, Sarmatia. To its loin, Africa. To its torso, Elymais. To its horns, Carthage. To its midparts, Armenia, India, and Germany. Gemini. Gemini is male, bicorporeal, articulate, the house of Mercury, upward trending, celestial, feminizing, a freedman, sterile and public. Under it are born scholars, those working in education and letters, poets, music lovers, declaimers, stewards, those who receive trusts, also translators, merchants, judges of good and evil, sensible people, practitioners of the curious arts, and seekers after mystic lore. In general, whatever the house ruler produces according to its own nature, whether good or bad, greater or lesser, this it produces in each of the signs according to the operative or inoperative configuration of the house ruler. I mention this so that we will not seem to be constantly writing the same thing. This sign is calm. Its first 3 degrees are worthless and destructive. From 3 degrees to 7 degrees it is well watered. Good weather from 7 to 15 degrees. The southern parts are well watered. The last degrees are a combination of traits. It has 21 stars. It lies towards the west wind. According to the Spherica, the tail of Cetus lies touching Gemini at one of its southern points. Also at its southern point on the due south line is the Satyr, touching it with its club, and it rises after the north part of Satyr, where the spear is. Lyra lies to the south. It lies on the due south line, being midway between north and south. Under Gemini's feet on the due south line is the so-called Canis, in front of its right foot. Canis is cut by a line running from the South Pole through Gemini's head straight to the North Pole. Gemini rises with the rest of Eridanus and Orion in the south. The gods Apollo, Hercules, Vulcan, Juno, Saturn are associated with it. To the north, Bootes, Phaeacus, except the head, and half of the crown set when Gemini rises. The following zones are subject to Gemini. To the front part, India and the adjoining areas and Celtica. To the breast, Cilicia, Galatia, Thrace and Boeotia. To the mid parts, Egypt, Libya, Rome, Arabia and Syria. Cancer. Cancer is calm. The parts are as follows. Under the two initial stars, to the southeast, it is worthless, destructive, stifling, productive of earthquakes. From that point to 10 degrees, it makes the air damp and hot, having heavy rains and constant thunderstorms. The right parts are worthless and destructive. In the north, the hare, the front part of Canis Major and Procyon rise with Cancer. It has 4 stars, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter and Venus. To the north, the head of Bootes sets as Cancer rises, as well as Hercules, Achaea and half of the crown. It is the house of the moon, feminine, solstitial, the ascendant to the universe, slavish, downward trending, mute, watery and noble. Changeable, public, popular, civic, prolific, amphibious. Men born under this sign are ambitious, popular, constantly changing, theatrical, cheerful, easily downcast, pleasure-loving, party-giving and public. Unsteady of mind, they say one thing but think another, and not sticking to one activity or two, they become wanderers and travellers. The following zones are subject to Cancer. To the front, Bactria. To the left, Zakynthus and Arcania. To the back, Ethiopia and Sheena. Under the head are the Crimean Gulf and the tribes surrounding it. The Red Sea, the Caspian Sea, the Hellespont, the Libyan Sea, Britain, and Thule. Under the feet are Armenia, Cappadocia, Rhodes, and Kos. Under the tip of Cancer are Troglodytia, Ionia, and Hellespont. Leo. Leo is masculine, the house of the sun, free, fiery, and temperate. Intellectual, kingly, stable, noble, upward trending, changeable, solid, governing, civic, imperious, irascible. Men born under this sign are distinguished, noble and steady, just, haters of evil, independent, haters of flattery, beneficent, inflated with their lofty thoughts. If the house ruler is at an angle or in aspect with benefics, then brilliant, glorious individuals are born, tyrants and kings. Leo is hot. The bright star in its breast, Regulus, is fiery and stifling. The parts are as follows. To 20 degrees, it is stifling, causing diseases of animals in the zones and places subject to it. The right side is movable and fiery. The south part is wet. The lower parts are destructive to everything. The middle and the left are temperate. In the north, the left arm of Bootes rises with Leo. In the south, the prow of Argo, the rest of the dog and Hydra, whose tail stretches to the claws of Scorpio, and its head to the claws of Cancer, as far as the crater. Above Leo lies the little bear, and in line with it lies the head of Draco, which Ophiuchus touches. On the north are the dolphin, Lyra, Zeugma, Cygnus, except for the bright star in its tail and the head of Pegasus. The following zones are subject to Leo: to the head, Gaul and the adjoining areas; to the foreparts, Bithynia; to the right side, Macedonia and the neighbouring areas; to the left side, Propontis; to the feet, Galatia; to the belly, Gaul; to the shoulders, Thrace; to the flanks, Phoenicia, the Adriatic and Libya; to the mid-parts, Phrygia and Syria; to the tail, Pessinus. Virgo. Virgo is the house of Mercury, feminine, winged, anthropomorphic, luxurious, standing like the figure of justice, bicorporeal, barren, a freedman with no offspring, downward trending, earthy, common, semi-vocal or mute, concerned with the body, incomplete, changeable, industrious, two-natured. Men born under this sign are noble, modest, religious, burdened with care, leading quite a varied life, administrators of others, goods, trusted, good stewards, secretaries, accountants, actors, practitioners of curious arts and seekers after mystic lore, spendthrifts in their early years but prosperous later in life. Libra. Libra is the house of Venus. Masculine, equinoctial, anthropomorphic, upward trending, airy, feminizing, vocal, noble, changeable, and a diminisher of estates. The lower mid-heaven of the universe, public ecliptic, the supervisor of crops, vineyards, olive groves, aromatics, homesteads, measures and artisans. Men born under this sign are noble and just, but malicious, covetous of others' goods, average in fortune, losing their original possessions and falling into vicissitudes, living through ups and downs of fortune, being in charge of measures, posts, and the grain supply. Scorpio. Scorpio is the house of Mars. Feminine, solid, rainy, fecund, destructive, downward trending, mute, servile, unchangeable, the cause of stenches, a destroyer of property, ecliptic, having many feet. Men born under this sign are tricky base thieves, murderers, traitors, incorrigible, destroyers of property, and connivers. As a whole, Virgo is soaking wet and stormy. By part, it is as follows. Its first decan is hot and destructive, the second temperate, the third rainy. Its northern parts are windy, the southern temperate. The following regions are subject to it: Mesopotamia, Babylonia, Greece, Achaia, Crete, Cyclades, the Peloponnesus, Arcadia, Cyrene, Doris, Sicily, Persis. Of the parts of the body, it rules the belly and all the internal and hidden parts. As mentioned as a whole, Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the house of Jupiter. Masculine, fiery, upward trending, vocal, priest, because of the constellation Argo. Noble, winged and changeable. Bicorporeal, two-natured, mysterious with few offspring. Half-finished, governing and kingly. Men born under this sign are noble, just, great-hearted, judges, generous, loving their brothers and their friends. They lose much of their original possessions, but gain them back. They are superior to their enemies, seek a noble reputation, are benefactors, prominent, and act mysteriously. Capricorn. Capricorn is the house of Saturn. Feminine, tropic, earthly, destructive and barren, downward trending, chilling, mute, servile, the cause of troubles, brutal, lurking, mysterious, two-natured, half-finished, a hunchback, lame, the descendant of the universe, indicative of misfortune and toil, a sculptor, a farmer. Men born under this sign are bad and warped. They pretend goodness and sincerity. They are toilsome, burdened with care, insomniac, fond of jokes, plotters of great deeds, prone to make unfortunate mistakes, fickle, criminal, lying, always criticizing and shameful. Capricorn is temperate on both sides. By parts it is as follows. The first parts are destructive, the second stormy and changeable. The middle parts are fiery, the last destructive. Cassiopeia and the right part of Pegasus rise with it in the north. In the south, the rear of Taurus and the legs of Hydra set, while Capricorn is rising. These are the gods, Venus, the moon, Ceres and Mercury. On the north there is nothing. The following zones are subject to Capricorn, all of them to the west and south. To the flanks, the Aegean Sea, the inhabitants of its coastline and Corinth. To its waist, Sicyon. To its back, the Mediterranean. To its tail, Spain. To its head, the Tyrrhenian Sea. To its belly, mid-Egypt and Syria. Aquarius. Aquarius is the celestial sign which is masculine, solid, anthropomorphic, somewhat damp, single. It is mute and quite cold. Free, upward trending, feminizing, unchanging and base with few offspring. The cause of troubles arising from athletic training, carrying burdens or work in hard materials, an artisan public. Men born under this sign are malicious, haters of their own families, incorrigible, self-willed, deceitful, tricky, concealing everything, misanthropic and godless, accusers, betrayers of reputations and the truth, envious, petty, occasionally generous, because of the sign's flow of water, uncontrollable. As a whole, this sign is wet. By part, it is as follows. The first parts are wet, the upper parts fiery, the lower worthless and useless. It has stars. The right parts of Andromeda rise in the north with Aquarius, as well as the rest of Pegasus. In the south, the southern one of the two, Fish, except for the head. Juno, Hercules, Vulcan and Saturn. In the north nothing sets. In the south the rest of Centaurus and of Hydra, up to Corvus set when Aquarius rises. This sign lies toward the west wind. In addition, it faces toward the zone of Egypt and the surrounding cities. From its western parts to the oasis of Ammon and the surrounding cities, from its eastern part to the Red Sea, which touches Egypt, and from its northern parts to Sebennytos and the Heracleotic mouth of the Nile. According to the Spherica, Eridanus and the Great Fish lie next to Aquarius in the south, touching the tail of Capricorn. In the north, around the North Pole, is the so-called Cygnus, above which is Sagittarius, where the bear looks to the north. The following zones are subject to Aquarius. To the front parts, Syria. To the middle, the Euphrates and Tigris, Egypt, Libya, the interconnected Egyptian rivers and the Indus. Under the middle of the water jug are the Tanais and the rest of the rivers, which flow from the Hyperboreans to the north and the west. Pisces. Pisces is the celestial sign which is feminine, quite wet, bicorporeal, with many offspring. Mossy, scaly, sinewy, humpbacked, leprous, two-formed, mute, motile with rough skin. In conflict with itself because one fish is northern, the other southern. It is downward trending. Servile, changeable with many offspring. Bicorporeal, sociable, lewd, with some limbs missing. The cause of wandering. Men born under this sign are unsteady, unreliable, changing from bad fortune to good, sexy, thievish, shameless, prolific and popular. As a whole, Pisces is cool and breezy. By parts it is as follows. The first parts are temperate, the middle moist, the last destructive and worthless. In the north, the rest of Andromeda rises with Pisces, as well as the rest of Perseus. The parts on the right and the triangulum in Aries. In the south, the head of the southern fish rises. Neptune, Mars, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter. In the south, Ara and the rest of Hydra set, and Pisces is rising. In the north, nothing. Pisces lies towards the north wind. It also lies towards the zone of the Red Sea, having not a few islands under its control, above which lie India and the so-called Indian Ocean. In its eastern parts, Pisces touches Parthia, the land of the Indies and the Eastern Ocean. In its northern parts, Scythia. In its western parts, it washes with its waves Myosaumus, Orthosaumus, and the surrounding cities. According to the Spherica, Achaea cut off by the North Pole and part of Sagittarius lie to the north of Pisces, not far away from the North Pole. The so-called Pegasus is within the Arctic Pole. The Arctic Circle, lying in the middle of the universe, stands apart from the other divisions of the sky. It has in it the Great Bear, stretching from the north towards the east, and from the south the other bear called the Lesser, which rises at midnight and which the so-called bear god, or Bootes, controls, having a reign on both bears. He is invisible, depending on the elevation of the two bears. One looks north, the other south. The following zones are subject to Pisces. On the front, the Euphrates and the Tigris. To the middle, Syria and the Red Sea. Mid-Persis and the neighbouring lands. To the tail, the Arabian Sea, the Red Sea, and the Borysthenes River. To the tie of the northern fish, Thrace. To that of the southern fish, Asia, Sardinia. That's all for this video, guys. Next time we'll look at the 50 terms. But for now, sweet dreams and sleep well. Night night.